Welcome, lovely people. It's fun to talk to myself, I know. I was getting the stream set up. I'm aware that you all couldn't hear me. This is fine. I haven't streamed in a very very long time, and therefore I need to get everything set up and proper. And all of my things have, they've fallen by the wayside because all of my setup has apparently been completely forgotten, and I can't even get onto my proper chat. But it's fine. I'll just keep an eye on the actual tabs. Um, okay, shall we run an official intro? I think we should run an official intro. Welcome, welcome to Top Gun. And properly welcome to Top Gun this time. For those of you that were here earlier and not watching YouTube, I did everything wrong. Literally everything. It's fine. But yeah, welcome. Hello, everyone. And hopefully you're all having a good evening. I thought it was finally time to bring back the Top Gun series. I've just been... Honestly, I've been playing too much or too little to be recording. I found that I haven't had that much time for casual X-Wing. Most of my games have been like tournament games, and I don't know, I don't really want to stream tournament games, like just go off straight and stream them live. I feel like it's better to just play the game, not concentrate on the streaming side of things. And especially that, like, it's like, do you really want to be giving away a competitive list? So it's a bit more difficult to do that while I'm not playing as much casually. But I thought I'd find some time to do one of these with you. And today we are going to be doing some more Top Gun. We're going to be teaching everyone how to play the game at a tournament level. So buckle up your bootstraps, people. We are... At some point I will eventually do like a beginner's guide to X-Wing, but I think there's enough people who have done that. Shout out to the Flynox. They did a couple of really good series on this, but this is focused on tournament play. This is focused on improving, and if you already know how to play the game of X-Wing and you want to get better, well, you know where to come. We're here. Welcome to Top Gun. And as it says on the tin, let's improve. So the improvement today that we're focusing on is going to be X-Wing by numbers. I haven't planned this one. I didn't really like the idea, ironically, of sitting down and crunching exactly what I was going to say, because there's a load of different aspects to this. So I thought I'd take a couple of suggestions from the chat, but as well as that, I wanted to go through my thought analysis of playing the game, and what happens, how do, and everything else. So if you are going to, then please do. If you're going to watch this, please share this. If you're going to be watching anywhere, if you think that this will be helpful, so chuck it on the Discords. I put it on the Facebook, so couldn't be bothered to put it on Discords. But yeah, so we're going to talk about reasons why you should make a decision, because realistically, this isn't actually X-Wing by numbers. This is X-Wing by decision making, and why you make decisions in the game of X-Wing. There's a lot of different decision points in the game of X-Wing, and we're going to have a think about the reasons why you might make decisions, and where, in exactly the same situation, why might it be a good thing one time to make one decision and one time to make another. So there's a lot of different things that come into this. There's poker aspect, there's a mathematical aspect, there's the other contributing factors, which is why X-Wing is a very interesting game to play. So let's break down a few bits. I'm going to try and split up the show into a few different sections. Section number one is going to be, what decisions do we make in the game of X-Wing? Where do you have the ability to affect the game? And some of that is going to be mental, some of that is going to be in the game itself, the mechanics of the game, and others are going to be make a little bit of intro to the section that I'm going to do eventually on outside the game of X-Wing, how you can make those kind of decisions. But decision making in X-Wing, and specifically the main meat of this, is going to be talking about how and why to make decisions in certain scenarios. So is your decision making wrong? Are you using too many qualitative decisions in your game of X-Wing? Or are you trying to do quantitative decisions? For those of you who don't like those two words, that is, go by eye or do the numbers. Qualitative is just how it feels, describe it with words and sounds. Quantitative is exactly by the numbers. You should be proving everything. Because a lot of the time people think that they're going by the numbers. I'm looking at you dice stats, and they're doing it badly, or they're using the wrong numbers, or they're doing the maths wrong. So we're going to go through a few of those and think about certain situations when it might be the right decision to ignore the numbers. And we're gonna have to think about that. So first of all, let's get ourselves into TTS, because why not? And I was going to load up Vassal, but right now I don't have a good stream set up for Vassal, frustratingly. And let's just load up a couple of lists. So we're going to load up this one, which I played the other day, and I should probably go pick a color as well, but it's fine. This is my room. I can do what I want. Let's go purple, because purple's fun. So we've got a couple of lists here. Got some Jedi, and let's load up a list on the other side of the table as well. Have I got anything else saved? I should have another list here. A lot of alt arts. There you go. Let's load up Rainbow. We don't need the list. We just need the ships. There we go. So also means I get to show off my pretty Poe. Look at him. Look how pretty he is. He's adorable. Nothing as good as Kez can do, but you know. Evening, Tim. Good to see you. Good to see you. Right, where are we going to move the... Let's try not to get everyone seasick. Let's stay in top down for the moment. Right then. So let's get rid of the chat. We don't need the chat. We need people be able to see things. So let's get all of this out of the way as well. You know when you're not thinking and you just did things. All right, 2 ticks. You're going blind for a moment, everyone. And we're back. There we go. Because I can't let you see my server name and password. That'd be rude. Okay. Anyway, sorry. We're back in the room. I hit the wrong thing. I wanted to config. I didn't want to leave. Okay, so let's just turn off like all the things that are annoying. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. I'll leave the chat on because I will have a look at dice stats in a second. And let's get rid of player names. Okay, everything's good. Lovely. Yeah, it should be saved, but I can't be bothered because I have all the things here, so I'm just going to reload them. Anyway, what was I going to say? We were going to go through why you make decisions in the game of X-Wing. Why you make decisions in the game of X-Wing. So let's just load up a Falcon because we can. Right. So on the whole, like, why do you make decisions? That's very, very important. Because a lot of people make decisions 4 different ways, but as I said, let's break down a turn. Let's break down the turn of X-Wing and why you might make certain decisions. So, there we go, we can turn off the names again now. Apply. Beautiful. It's not password, Tim. Don't be fancy. Right. So, let's start off the thing. The first decisions you can make are to do with your list. Now, clearly, those decisions are covered in my list building aspect. The second set of decisions you can make during a game of X-Wing is deployments. And when you're making those, obviously, it is in the video that I have on rocks. You see, I've done these before. There was a series. There was a point to this. If you people keep on shit-talking me about passwords, I'm going to bring out my teacher voice. Don't make me angry. Looking at you. Looking at you, Jared. I'm blaming Tim. Like, Tim is the problem here. But we've got past the original decisions. Now let's think about, we've got into the game. What decisions are you making during the game? Well, the first decision that comes to mind is the dials. You have to decide where a ship goes. And usually you're deciding where a ship goes based on the idea of, oh, I want to destroy the enemy ship. Or I want to not get destroyed by the enemy ship. It's all to do with moving into a position to put yourself in an advantage. Now, that advantage is normally a mathematical advantage. Normally, because you're either rolling dice and your opponent isn't, in which case that is the perfect advantage for you. That's what you're aiming for. The perfect game of X-Wing is one where your opponent does not roll dice. because then there is no probability, percentage, chance, however you want to say it. There's literally zero chance of your opponent winning if he does not roll dice. There's a chance of you not winning. So there's a chance of you not rolling any dice to win the game, if you like. You get all blanks, all blanks, all blanks, and then it goes to final salvo. So that's a thing. But the perfect game of X-Wing, at least, is one where you don't roll any dice at all on defense, because then, you know, obviously there are edge cases here if your opponent has bombs and doesn't need to roll dice to hurt you and everything else. But, oh, pardon me, when we have a look at the dials, what we're actually doing when we're setting maneuvers is we are attempting to create a scenario that is favourable for us. That's what we're doing with those decisions when we're setting dials. So that's one decision. What are the other decisions that we make? Well, after you move your ships, you have to be aware of your ships, you have to be aware of your opponent's ships. You can do actions, and again, actions are all to do to swing the game in your favour. We are trying to move the game into our favour by mostly dice modifications. Again, all to do with those weird cubey things. What else? What else can we do with decisions? Well, the poker aspect of the game, we can make some decisions on what we say to our opponent. We can make some decisions on how we act around the table. Now, there was a really interesting episode from the... was it the Thule? I think it was the Thule Squadron podcast where I went on and we talked about a load of the aspects, the poker aspect of X-Wing. And some of those things are decisions. If when your opponent reveals a dial, let's think about a specific scenario for a second just to demonstrate this, and I will come back to this. Imagine that you have an Initiative 6 Anakin Skywalker sitting over here. Now, your Initiative 6 Anakin Skywalker has not yet moved. So, Leia Organa is here. Leia dials in a 3 forwards. There we go. S3. And lands there. The moment that your opponent reveals the dial, you go, ah, shit. What have you just done? You have given your opponent an advantage. You have allowed him an easier decision. So in terms of decision, you have allowed your opponent to know that where they just moved their ship is bad for you. Now, it might not mean your oh no might have meant that, well, she's going to be able to shoot me. Well, that was the one move I didn't want him to do. Maybe it's the one move that blocks you. But you've given him information. Hey, Link. Yeah. And that's really, really important. So in terms of decisions, your decisions are important, but so are your opponents. So think about where your decisions are being made and think about how you can both make your decisions easier and your opponent's decisions harder, because that's also a very important factor. We're going to come on to that in a bit. So, yeah, we'll go from there. Alrighty. X-Wing by numbers. X-Wing by numbers. So, going back to decision making, there is a couple of other places. After we've moved our ships, we also have decisions that can be made on target priority, on when you shoot things and why you shoot things. So at the very basic level, obviously you want to try and combine your firepower. Usually, if Leia is in this situation and has 3 options of choosing ships, you would go, okay, which ship am I going to choose and why? Well, am I going to pick the ship at range 3 with a focus and evade token? Say, for example, Rick Ollie has gone fast. Probably not a good target. Am I going to shoot the range 2 Anakin Skywalker with an evade or a stealth device? Maybe. Or am I going to shoot Obi-Wan Kenobi, who has taken a target lock on me? In this situation, probably your best odds for damage is to go ahead and shoot Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you go through and you work out those odds, well, we have 3 dice for Obi, because he's at range 3. Let me just trigger the firing arc here. So you have 3 dice for Obi-Wan with no tokens, with just the Force. Let's go grab a couple of Force points as well, because why not? Okay, there we go. So we boost it to get into position. We've got Anakin. Anakin has an evade, 3 Force, and a stealth device. So he has all of these. Now, I appreciate I'm labouring the point here, but it's good to see this visually and to get an idea in your head. And then Rick went fast, so Rick has 4 dice at range 3 with a focus and evade. So if we're talking mathematically, well, clearly it is the correct decision to shoot Obi-Wan because he has the least modifications and you're the most likely to do damage. So a lot of people don't go past this point. But this is where we need to take the entire game into view, into perspective, because there's a lot more things that can affect your decision making at this point here. How much damage have those ships taken? At what point in the game are you? Are you right at the end of the game and you need to get points? Well, you might not have the best odds to do damage to Anakin, but what if Anakin is sitting there and going, okay, if Anakin dies, then you win the game and it's the final round. Well, you ignore these two and you go for the Hail Mary kill shot on Anakin, and you take your normal target lock, which you would use to get to reroll blanks, and actually you go, the only way that I win this game is I get direct hits. So you reroll your hits and go for crits. That's a decision. That's a time when you decide, the actual decision at this point is not correct, and therefore I'm not going to go do it. So this is what I'm talking about decisions, about thinking, okay, where are these odds going to be in my favour? That's the first step you need to take, and going, okay, well, clearly this one over here is the best decision, and these two are bad. But it's a bit too close-minded to think, okay, that's the end of discussion, I will always shoot that ship, because maybe your rebel list has another couple of ships. Let's just get nope, we want single spawner, we want Wedge because Wedge is amazing, and we want Luke pilots. Ready? There we go. All of the Skywalkers. I'm disappointed they didn't put Rey on this and just lean into the memes. Right, so if you've got Luke and Wedge sitting over here, suddenly it changes the scenario, because Anakin isn't just taking 1 shot, he's taking 3. So in which case, maybe you do shoot first with Leia into Anakin and strip the evade token. So that's what we're talking about with decisions. It's never just a single decision. You always have to take the extra factors into account. So looking at this a bit more sensibly then, and this is where you get things like dice stats and everything else, but let's take this from where we are right now with making decisions based on dice and everything else. Let's scale that back. Let's go all the way back to the dials planning phase. So if you've got the dials planning phase, by the way guys, chuck in questions. If you have questions or anything else, then let me know. I'm just waxing lyrical at this point. So if we take this back and we take this back to the dials planning phase, we have these 3 ships. Now, these 3 ships need to put themselves into a position that is favourable to them. They want to be rolling the most red dice and rolling the least green dice as possible. And you want to be combining firepower. I'm not playing against anyone. I'm just going to be... This is Top Gun. So this is basically me doing a bit of a... I suppose you could call it coaching. So there we go. If everyone was full health in the vacuum, a little bit more information, Jared. Are we talking about just with Leia? So say, for example, it's just the Falcon. Which ship do I shoot? At what point in the game? So in a complete vacuum, if everyone was on full health, I would probably take the Obi-Wan shot, yes. There is a small chance I would take the Anakin shot, and the only reason that I would take the Anakin shot is to scare him into spending his Force. So say, for example, it was slightly different, in which case Anakin had spent 1 or 2 Force to get into this position using barrel rolls or talon rolls. There is a small argument that I could shoot Anakin to make sure that he spends his Force on defense, and therefore to not do as much damage to the Falcon, because I am taking 3 shots here. The plan needs to be fluid. Yeah, exactly. So you're needing to constantly think about these decision points throughout the turn. So, yes, in that original scenario, I would have absolutely shot Obi-Wan because it's 3 dice versus 3 dice. Red dice are better than green dice. They're more likely to get hits than the green dice are to get evades. So you are more likely to do damage. And in this scenario, Obi-Wan is the correct target. If there is a second factor to that, and this is something that you need to be aware of. If you like running the odds, if you don't think that you are going to be coming out of this scenario in a good position, so for example, you feel like you've almost lost the game. Maybe you're in this scenario and this is Leia is your only ship left. That Falcon is your last ship left. In this situation, I think I would actually shoot Anakin. Because think about this. If you don't kill Anakin when you have the opportunity, and Anakin sitting at range 2 is a fairly good opportunity. If you don't kill him when you have the opportunity, you'll probably never kill him again. Obi-Wan is a squishier target because he has less defense dice, and you're trying to win the game, and the only way you're going to win the game in this position is by killing ships. Obi-Wan with Delta 7 will probably have a few more turns of being shot at in him. In this situation, I'd probably only expect to do 1 damage at range 3. If I got a good shot on Anakin and get a crit through, that could be game-winning for me. And this is probably one of the most important things I'm going to say tonight. In that situation, you can take a risk. And it is a big risk, and you need to be aware of the odds of taking that risk. So if you decide, you know what, I've probably lost this game already. If I continue to play this out sensibly by the numbers, I will probably lose this game. Because you will. You're 3 ships against 1, and everything's in a vacuum. You're going to lose the game because the 3 ships should beat the Falcon. Because, what are they? They're 200, the Falcon's maybe 75. In that case, is it worth flipping a coin and going for the 10% play? Because you could see, well, in this case, it's 5%, because that's the odds of 3 blanks on green dice. But, and this is my point, knowing some of those numbers off the top of your head is really quite useful. I'm going to get a calculator on there, and I'm going to work it out now, because we can. So the odds of a blank on a green dice is, if you have a look at the green dice, if you actually zoom in or pick one up, and have a look at it. On that green dice, there are 3 blank surfaces, there are 3 evade surfaces, and there are 2 focus surfaces. So in that case, it is a 3 in each chance, so 3 divided by 8, of getting a evade or a blank. So what you then do is you run the odds of getting 3 of those on 3 dice, and you multiply that by itself 3 times. So I'm just going to cube that, so to the power of 3. And it is 5% chance of blanking out on 3 green dice. If you assume in this situation that Anakin also has a stealth device, it's actually 3 divided by 8 to the power of 4, because there are 4 green dice, which is a 2% chance of dying. So if you look at that scenario and you go, okay, in this situation, if I was to kill Anakin here by him getting 3 blanks and I get hit crit with a direct hit and do 3 damage, that is a 2% chance of him getting 3 blanks. Then there are the odds of you getting 3 hits with the crit in there. That's probably somewhere around a 30% chance, with just if you have the focus. If you got the focus on the target lock, then you're looking at about 60-70% with the crit. Then that is 2% chance initially for the green dice, plus the 50% chance, 30% chance. So that's already down to 1%. That's 1 in 100 games you're going to win doing that. Is it a better decision to take the average damage of 1 damage on Obi-Wan, or go for the absolute Hail Mary play of going for Anakin? Because before I did those numbers for you, and before I told you that the chance of killing Anakin in one go there is less than 1%, because it is less than 1%, because you have to draw a direct hit as well, and that's another 1 in 3. So yeah, there's a lot of bad odds. you're looking at about 0.3% chance of killing Anakin in this scenario in one shot. So 1 in 3,000 games to give you 1 in 300 games to give you an idea. 1 in 300 damage rolls from range 2 with those mods. Probably less than that because I'm just doing these numbers off the top of my head. Before I told you that information, was that something you were considering? Because you need to ask yourself this. You need to be aware of your bias when playing the game of X-Wing. If you thought, oh, you know what, I might take that risk. That's a possible risk. This could win me the game if this happens. Then because you thought, well, maybe it's a 1 in 10. Like, maybe sometimes this will happen. And then when you actually think about it, you work out, oh God, this is 1 in 300. Being aware of how likely or unlikely these situations are is going to help you to work out these effects. So just being aware of the fact that 3 blanks on green dice is 5%, that is 1 in 20. Because I know some people don't like percentages, some people like fractions. So 1 in 20 chance of blanking out on 3 green dice, i.e. if you get shot 20 times, one of those times is going to be a triple blank. Think about how many times you get shot during a game, especially with someone like Suntir. If you're playing against a swarm, you take 5 shots a turn. Every 5 turns, you are going to just get a triple blank and be very sad. Over the course of a tournament, think about how many times Suntir rolls green dice. Think about how much the odds of him rolling 3 blanks are over a tournament. How many times does he get shot during that tournament? Do you need to take less risks with Suntir? Or do you need to put him in a situation where your opponent doesn't get to roll green dice because you've killed him? Dale Cromwell School of X-Wing. It's not jousting if the opponent isn't alive to shoot back. People really underestimate the effect of jousting with initiative 6 to initiative kill. Dale may look stupid while he does it because Suntir suddenly just rams up into a swarm, but he's limiting the incoming fire he takes by removing ships, which is a way that Dale plays and it works. So going back to my original point, saying this is one of the most important things I can mention. When you make that decision, are you informed? Do you know the possibility of that decision winning the game for you? And is your game so lost at this point that you need to lean in to the 1 in 300 chance? Ask yourself that question when you're planning your moves. You go, right, the only way I win this game is by killing Anakin here. Because that is the only situation you should be in that you decide to take that shot. Because a lot of people will look at this situation and go, oh look, Anakin's at range 2. That is a fantastic position for me to kill an ace. Okay, he's got an evade, he's got a stealth device, but I'll still take that shot because it's probably worth it. And I know that I'm saying the odds of killing him versus doing 1 damage. If we work out the odds of doing 1 damage, the odds of doing 1 damage are considerably greater. They're a lot harder to do off the top of my head. I will have a look at that in a second. There is a fantastic series of X-Wing dice calculators out there that you should totally use if you're interested in some of these situations. Hello! Hey, pugs. Yeah, so think. Decisions and why you're doing things. What are we mathing? Well, we are looking at odds on X-Wing and how they affect your decision. So going back that little bit further once again, we had the situation where you're working out what you're going to shoot in this case. And we worked out that, okay, the odds on Obi-Wan and killing Obi-Wan, well, doing a damage to Obi-Wan, are the highest chance of doing damage based on the mods that these ships have and the mods that your ship has. Before we got to this position, how can we change that scenario? Let's pick up Leia. Let's get rid of that firing arc. Let's get rid of these dice. I'm going to keep the mods the same. And let's think, how can we change that? How can we change that? In this situation, where does Leia need to be to make your shot better? That's what you need to be thinking about when you're planning dials. So when you are planning the dials, where do you want Leia to be? Do you want Leia to be here? Do you want her to be over here, not taking many shots? And this is where prediction comes in. This is where we play the poker game. But to play the poker game, you have to understand what is a good situation for your ships. So when it comes to these decisions, you're going into the game and you're thinking, okay, what situation do I want my ships to end up in? Normally, taking less shots than you put out is a good situation. So dodging arcs, that's good. However, based on the kind of list that you're flying, I'm going to load up in a second a couple of the games from the Firecast, if I can get them up on Twitch, because I think it's going to be really useful to do this in a real life situation. Have a look through a couple of games and go, okay, why would I do that in this situation? And I might, because I know them a bit better, I might actually use my Worlds games, because, plug my own channel and everything else. But based on this scenario, why do you make these decisions? Well, you make these decisions because of X, Y, Z. Okay. I'm just going to grab up a video from Tin Squadron, because, and shout out to Tim, because this is from the game I played last night. There was a situation in this video that I was talking about today with Mr. Connor Holmes, who I think is also watching, and it was a situation that was based upon, right, let me just max screen this, here we go, there we go, sorted. It was a situation that was based, hello, don't worry Tim, this is actually something that you caught me out on, so this is good. Right, let me find it. Let me find it. Okay, so this is, okay, we need to go back here. Right. There. I was not looking from the right angle. Okay, here we are. So, it's going to be, I'm going to just mute this. Yeah, it's on mute. So just so we can see it without anything on the board. So ignore the fact that the stuff is moving. Let me just move the chat slightly so you can see it. Where are we? Where's my chat? Where's my chat box? There's my chat box. Just pop that over there. Okay. We can, yeah, we'll put it over there. No one's really paying attention to that. Okay. Now, what I want you guys to pay attention to is Obi-Wan. I want you to pay attention to Obi-Wan, and the reason I want you to pay attention to Obi-Wan is because we're going to apply this. Good evening, Silas. Good to see you. We're going to apply this to what we were just talking about. Now, look at the ships on the board. Look at this scenario. Sorry, there's a big play button in the middle. Hopefully, this will be fine if I just leave it playing in the background. If we have a look at some of the ships here, let's have a look at Obi-Wan, because he's the one that I want to think about. Think about the board state at the moment. Sunny is on a rock, so Sunny is not going to get an action next turn because she's going to go over the rock. I have a few different targets that I can take. Now, Rick over here can decide to go this way or this way. So I know that Tim knows there is going to be some... I know, right? It's really annoying. There is going to be a few situations where there is going to be one of Tim's ships over here, because the black one may come in and try and block. This guy seems obvious that his move is the K-turn. There we go. There he goes with the K-turn. Let's just move it back a bit so that we... there we go. So it seems obvious that this move is the K-turn. We know where this guy's going. We don't know really where most of the other ships are going, apart from the Hawk, which is coming around the corner. Now, based on this scenario, what I want to do as the Jedi player, the Republic player, is I want to engineer a situation that gives me good odds. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a situation where I get like trading firepower most of the time. I'm looking for a situation where I get good odds. And I'm looking at this game and going, okay, 6. 6 are a problem because they have 3 green agility dice. They are very, very hard to kill unless you have a focus and a target lock. So there is a couple of options here with Obi-Wan. I know that I cannot get this guy. He's K-turning, he's going to be behind me. If I go for him, we're going to be trading. This guy, I have to guess. He could K-turn, he could turn right, he could turn left. There is a lot of options for this ship. Torquil, I know where he's going, he's coming around here, so realistically Obi-Wan doesn't want to come too far over here. So if you think about this situation and where am I going to get a good shot and where am I not going to get shot that much. So I know that the 5 forwards from Obi-Wan is the place that is not going to get me shot that much. If I go down here, I will be taking very few shots. The only reason that I'm taking shots is if Black K turns. However, I'm not going to gain much. I'm not going to gain much at all. Obi-Wan is presently on full health. He's got all of his shields. He can take a hit or two and use that to trade for damage. Remember, X-Wing is a game of not just positioning, but also maintaining resources. Your resources is your health. You can spend some of that health to gain an advantage in points. So, I know there is going to be a ship without a focus token, which is my best odds of doing damage. And that ship, there are 2 of them this turn that I can guarantee you will not have a focus token. The yellow is one if he's going to K-turn, and this one is the other. 100% will not have a focus token because he's going over an asteroid. His front nub is going to clip the rock. Shout out to John. I'm talking you through my thinking process here. This is why I made the decision in the game. So my decision that I'm going to make is I'm going to turn Obi-Wan left. I'm going to turn him hard to left, which may seem silly because I'm turning him towards a hawk. I'm turning him towards possibly this guy, and I might even be turning him towards Sunny, depending on where Sunny goes. However, what do I gain from this? Well, what I gain is I gain a scenario where Obi-Wan can have a focus and a target lock, which should get you 4 hits. 75-ish% of the time, that will get you 4 hits. The other 20% you will get 3. So you're going to get a decent amount of hits if you're at range 1. And this Sick, on average, is going to get only a single evade token. Only a single evade. Now, as we're going over the rock, there is also a 50-50 shot of the Sick taking 1 more damage. It's already on 3 health. If averages happen, I get 3 or 4 hits. Let's say I got 4 hits. 75% of the time I get 4 hits. If I roll 4 hits at range 1, and Sunny rolls a single evade, which happens often, that's the average expected on both of those rolls, I am going to kill Sunny. I'm going to get myself 30 points on the board. What am I taking back? Well, I'm probably going to take a shot from Black if Black decides to turn in. I may take a shot from Torquil if Torquil decides to turn in as well. It's at range 3. I'm going to have some force. Is that a good trade? Probably. I take 1, maybe 2 shields, and I get 30 points, and I don't give up any. Okay, if you're counting, half of Obi-Wan is also 30 points. So even with the bad odds, I have traded even. I've not traded down, I've traded evenly. Agreed on that one, Tim. That was the bit of information I had omitted, so I always try and take that out of my head. Tim had already rolled the rock. He'd already rolled the fact that he'd already got the hit on the first time he went onto the rock. So because of that, he was thinking, well, 1 out of 2, I should fail it. I always try, if I can, to go, okay, this is a new roll. I've got a 50-50 chance. I have to take that into account. The dice that you rolled previously don't care about the dice that you're going to roll in the future. They don't look at them and stare at them and say, right, you're now going to roll average. As much as I would love that to be a thing, it's not. Dice are cubes that are random. They don't hate you. Your decisions make them roll badly because you put yourself in situations that they have the opportunity to roll badly. You have to remember that. And this hurts. I'm going to say it. I'm going to call a lot of people out here, and I'm probably going to get flamed, but screw it, doesn't matter. Your dice are bad because you make bad decisions. That's it. Your dice are bad because you make bad decisions. So, based on this scenario, let's finish it off. If you then fast forwards, this is the situation we ended up with. I'm trading 1 and 1 here. I'm taking a shot up there and a shot down there. In this situation, I should do damage. So, what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of a pause in a couple of minutes as I say hi to Kate as she gets home. And you can have a bit of a chat and have a bit of a think. But in this situation, turns out it didn't go well for me. I managed to roll all of the dice and get only a single hit on Sunny. However, I still stand by my decision that it was the right choice because of the fact that the odds were very much in the favour of me getting that damage and getting those points. So in that situation, this is the reason I took those decisions leading up to that. Now what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to leave you with a pause screen, have a break, have 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about some more engagements. Enjoy. And welcome back. Welcome back. So just a few comments from Tim there. Watched the game back myself. Interesting to analyse and think what I could have done differently. Yeah, the Sunny on the Rock was interesting, but we can gloss over that one. That's not important. So yeah, in terms of decisions, had a look at a specific scenario and why the decision was made. What you are going to need to start to do is you get better at X-Wing. Sorry, the hat's off. It's just slightly off kilter, isn't it? What you're going to have to start to do as you get better at X-Wing is you're going to have to start to do that in your head. Now, the really good X-Wing players who get good by practice are going to be able to do that because let's just get this out of the way. Let's go back to our board here. There we go. So the really good players that do this with practice are able to do this just off the top of their heads because they've played so many games that they don't need to think about it anymore. They just do it automatically. Now, if you're in that scenario, fantastic. If you've been in this situation before and you've been in it enough times that you know, okay, I don't need to think about what I'm doing because I've done this a million times before. Maybe it's getting out of arc with Suntir. Maybe, like, think about back when you started the game, you just jousted things with Nace. Like, that was a bad decision. Why did I do that? my ship died. If you do that enough times, you go, oh yeah, my ship dies quite a lot in these positions, so therefore it's a bad place to be. But often you can't do that. You're flying a new list, you're flying against a new opponent, and you don't know what he's going to do. So because of that, you need to be able to think about yourself, think about your situation, look at what's going on, and move on from there and go, okay, what decisions am I going to need to make this turn to make sure that I come out on top? What odds are going to be involved? Where can I put my ship to improve those odds? Can I be at range 3? Can I make sure that I'm shooting at range 1 and stack deck in my favour? I'm making sure I get more dice than my opponent. For example, if you have missiles, well, range 3 is where you want to engage, because then the engage is favourable for you. You get a bonus evade dice. Have you jousted a list before? You know, there's the thing that a lot of people say as well. For those of you saying you're in this picture and you don't like it, when 2 of you is jousting, 1 of you is wrong. Have you done the numbers? Have you done that joust before? Do you know what happens in each situation if you get the ranges right, if you get the ranges wrong? So, yeah, all of these decision points on when to make decisions and where to create your engagements are super, super important. And if you can do them before a game, then fantastic. And this is why I always recommend, there's a load of people that say, well, how do you get better at X-Wing? Just play games. Play games and think about them. Talk about your opponent. Talk to them. There, words are hard. Play games and talk to your opponent about those games afterwards, because they will be thinking about a different point than you will, oftentimes. And they'll think, oh, this was really good that I did this, or that made my life really difficult. And I really like asking my opponent, where do you think I lost the game? Because it might not be the same point where you think that you lost the game. It might have been 2 turns earlier, and you realised, oh, okay, I wasn't even thinking about this. And I really like the strategic game. I often think that if I can put my opponent in such a bad position before shots are fired, then I've already won that first engagement, because I am then using the positional game to make sure that the X-Wing by numbers, the dice that you end up rolling, are better for you. And the best dice are the ones that you never have to roll, right? If you are an ultimate warrior, then you don't even have to use your sword, because your opponent has just surrendered already. And yeah, that's an argument. Or you don't get shot back. Overwhelming force is acceptable. So yeah, that is a situation. So based on all of this, how do you learn this? How do you get better? Well, first of all, you learn this not by doing hard numbers on a calculator, but you learn this by playing games. You can naturally learn essentially game sense just having been in that situation before, so you can do that. If you don't have enough time to practice, then you can do this on the fly. It's never normally as good, but you can do it on your head. If you get a lot of time sitting down and thinking about X-Wing, but you don't get to play X-Wing, then maybe you should think about how your list fares in certain situations. I'm going to show you an amazing website, which is Gate of Storms dice calculator. So let me just get it up here. So it is the X-Wing probability calculator. If you put that into Google, it'll probably come up, and it's run off gateofstorms.net. So if you just type in X-Wing probability calculator, it'll come right up. And this is what I use very, very often. Oh god, you can't see the text. Let's half screen it. There we go. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You do miss a lot in club night games. Stream games are interesting. Yeah, getting lots of feedback on things. Yeah, Mathwing. It's really important. It's really important because you need to understand what the expected outcome of this dice roll is. And if you know what the expected outcome is, then you know that that situation that you just did, where you put your ship in that scenario and it didn't work, is a one-off. And therefore, you're okay to do it again. For example, if that was the first time that I jousted a Sick with Obi-Wan, and the Sick only took a single damage with no focus token, then I'd go like, what the hell, I'm never doing that again. But no, it's not the expected outcome. The really important thing, The really important thing is I just accidentally put naming in the background. Let's go tie interceptor. It's fine. I am streaming, yes. The really important thing to note is this. Don't look at this. This number is helpful, but it is not the most important number. These are the most important numbers. And I really like this section down here, the probability of at least X. So normally, the reason I get out the dice calculator is because I put my ship in a situation and it dies, and I go, okay, what were the odds of doing that? By the way, if anyone ends up with an odds of more than 32,000, I think it was 32,000 in an actual tabletop game that you played in a tournament, shout out, because that's my record. My record is 1 in 32,000 that made me lose a game. So good. Yeah, you have no expected outcomes. Yeah, and then you've just got to take it with a pinch of salt, which is why this is really important, because it's your willingness to lean into the odds. And I was talking about this at the start. The idea of, okay, how willing are you to flip a coin? Are you willing to take a risk? And if you are willing to take a risk, then you need to have a think about it and how often these things come up. So I can't remember what I was looking at here. I was looking at how much damage. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But looking at the at least X amount of hits. So probability of at least that amount of hits is at least one hit. Well, you have a 99% chance of taking one hit. And you've got to go quite a way before you have a low chance of taking more than one. So let's go here. In this, say for example, I think this is a falcon being shot at by a swarm. So how likely is it that you are going to take 8 damage? 30%-ish. There is a 1 in 3 chance of you taking 8 damage. Because looking at this and going, oh, the expected damage is 6.5, so I'm going to take 6.5. That's not enough. Because in 1 in 3 games, you're going to take 8 and that's going to kill you. I'm going to finish the story in a second, because if this is the one, this is the most recent one, this is the monster. So in this scenario, I have a 0.5% chance of taking 11 damage. 0.5%. How often is that going to happen? So if I have a full health falcon, and I put my falcon in this position, 0.05% chance of taking 5%, of taking 11 damage. Is that worth the risk? 0.05%, yes. However, having a look at the rest of it, is it worth taking 8 damage on 30% of my games? No. I bet, looking at these numbers, I should never be in this situation. Turns out I actually took 19 damage, but that's not the point. It's not the point. This was it was bad. It was really bad. I lost 2 ships. I lost a Falcon and an X-Wing in a single round of shooting. Shout out to Filip Vukic, who is a monster with swarms, and my butt still hurts. But again, that is an amazing website, because you can use it to check. I'm not going to show you how to use it. You can work that out yourself. It's got all of the things in there. But use it to check the numbers. Use it to check how average your thing is. And it compensates for the damage deck. It does compensate for the amount of damage from the damage deck. It is normally a bad idea to look at the damage deck for added variance. I would always err on the side of caution. People tend to underestimate just how often the 10% chance comes up. If you have a 10% chance of something happening, don't do it. You want to be 95% plus. 95% chance surety plus. That's what you want to go for if you can. But regardless, that is a little bit of an insight into how I play the game. When I set my dials, well, let's go back to TTS one last time before we finish this off. So when I set my dials, when I make decisions, all of the decisions that I make are based on these mathematical probabilities and what's likely to happen. I attempt to do it mathematically in my head. I know enough of it that I know what certain scenarios are going to come out. So in that situation, I expect to take XYZ damage. So when I plan my dials, I think, okay, and bear in mind that I play relatively slowly. Like, people that have played against me, they're aware that I am not a fast player. The reason I'm not a fast player is this is what's going on in my mind in every turn. So we go to the planning phase. Before I start setting my dials, I work out where every single one of your ships are going to go. If I was playing you, what are the 3 most likely positions that your ships are going to end up in? And trust me, when you're playing against an 8-ship swarm, it is a pain. But I will still try and do it. I'll do it fast, but I'll see if I can do it. Where is the 3 most likely positions for your ships to end up in? Once I've worked that out, I will then go onto my dials and go, okay, based on those likely positions, is there a move on all of my dials that will give me a good situation based on variance and based on these dice odds? So looking at all of these situations that I could be in, where should I put my ship that puts me in a good trading position, i.e. either taking no dice or taking as few dice as possible while rolling the most reds, knowing those numbers off the back of my head, just having that little thing up there going, okay, if you're taking 4 reds and you're giving 4 reds back with no defensive mods, then that's a bad situation. You want to avoid those situations. So I will then do that. I'll think about all of my dials with that in mind. Then ships move. Based on where your opponent's ships move, you can choose the activation order of your ships. Choose the activation order to give you the most information. If you know that one of your ships is a really important move, say they're all at the same initiative. If one of your ships is a really important move, give yourself the most information possible. Move all of your other ships first. Put them into the positions that you know they're going to end up in, just in case one of them didn't work out and you need to change your plan in the middle of the turn. So you have a full amount of information when you move that one ship that is really important. After you move the ship, you have another opportunity for choosing things and actions and everything else. So that is how I play the game of X-Wing. And then when it comes to spending focus tokens and all of these things, this is something that I didn't really cover, actually, that I should probably cover. Again, it is exactly the same principle. It's exactly the same scenario. When you have an opportunity to spend some dice, say for example Rick is sitting here. You are taking a shot against an X-Wing. It's 3 against 2. And you have an opportunity to spend your focus token. Is it worth it to spend your focus? You have to think of not just this single situation, you also have to think of the return firepower. Is it going to be a good situation for you if you spend your focus? If you spend your focus and you do, say, 2 damage to an X-Wing, the X-Wing, when both of them fire back, if you've spent your focus, they are going to do 4 damage. If you don't spend your focus, they're going to do 2 damage. Which one would you rather take? Do you absolutely have to do damage to win the game? Or is it more important to not take damage to win the game? In which case, rely on your natural dice, keep the focus token and take less damage. It's these similar situations. You have to run yourself through every single time. And it's really helpful to be aware of the times that you make those decisions. Think about when you're making decisions and thinking about how much it affects your outcomes. Obviously, I think a lot about the game of X-Wing. I take it very seriously. If you guys don't take it as serious as I do, not a problem. If you can't do numbers in your head, I do teach physics. I like maths. Not a problem. But you can teach yourself to learn about those scenarios by practicing a list and understanding, learning by doing instead of learning by thinking about it. So making those decisions, understanding them, learning is a really important factor of the game of X-Wing. And hopefully I have maybe told you something important. I mean, I think a lot of this is already known, but it's very important to think about why you're doing things in the game of X-Wing. And when you're setting your dials, it's not just, okay, I'm setting my dials because I want to put myself in a good position. No, it's setting your dials because you want to put yourself in a good position for the numbers to go in your favor. everything you do in a game of X-Wing should be to do with stacking the deck, and by deck I mean the dice. Stack the dice in your favour by turning the odds in your favour, blocking your opponent. Don't block if there's not any point. If he's got force points, what's the point in blocking him? You might as well shoot him. Self-preventing degenerate gambler. Yes, but that's also really important, is being aware of how you play the game. Because maybe you like flipping the coin, maybe you like taking a risk. That's something you do. So, yeah, there we go. To summarise, don't make bad decisions. Dice are just cubes. And if anyone has any questions, now is a good time to ask. If not, then we'll sign off. While we're doing that, let's just read some Tim. About chasing bad bets. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. X-Wing game position, yes. I mean, it is... there is a beautiful irony that the people that are shouting that, well, X-Wing is a game positioning, well, meaning it's a game of dice and numbers, which it is. The irony is that by getting better at positioning, you actually win the number game. So, there we go. I mean, everyone takes unnecessary risk. Like, you have to take a risk at some point in a game of X-Wing or you're never going to win. It's understanding when to take that risk is the most important thing. But yeah. Well, hopefully you guys found that useful. This, as always, will be on YouTube. If you're already on YouTube, well, congratulations to you. You're awesome. And I will bid you a fine good night. I've more or less managed to keep it to an hour. At the point that I cut out that little break in the middle, it'll be fine. And obviously, you should watch the rest of my series because, I don't know, I'm awesome, you're awesome, and you want to get better at X-Wing. Next one of these, coming up soon, will be probably to do with getting yourself ready for a tournament. Some of the stuff outside the game of X-Wing that you want to have a think about and everything else, because that is also decisions. So, thank you to you all. I will see you on the other end of a phone line sometime soon. And, yeah, back to Dials, just for Connor.